What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with more Destiny 2 news updates and coverage for our new content this week. So firstly, we'll talk about daily nightmares and picking up the new Altar of Sorrow weapons. There is currently a daily rotation on that loot table. We'll touch on that, as well as some secrets in the dungeon, possible upcoming quests or rewards, and hidden collectibles. And then we have a few roundups from Bungie about season pass rewards, broken exotics, still broken exotic quests. We'll also talk about festival stuff, easier branch 9 clears for that Pinnacle gear, secret triumphs, the event cosmetics loot table, and plenty of other things in this video. So guys, as always, if you enjoy this one, a rating really helps me out below, but now let's get into it. And so the first thing to talk about right here would be the Altars of Sorrow. I made a video yesterday updating the kind of loot table following the update that we got on Tuesday, and that does include the new information about acquiring items for the badge for the Lunar Rover title. So if that's relevant, you can check that video out. However, the one thing I don't think any of us were really counting on would be daily drops in the Altars of Sorrow. So, of course, on Tuesday, we were able to get the shotgun, but then after reset yesterday, the Hive-themed sniper rifle became available, and the boss changed from the Nightmare of Fogoth to the Nightmare of Taniks. And so after daily reset today, presumably, we are going to get another nightmare, and so it looks like the weapons from Altars of Sorrow are on a daily rotation. Curious to see whether it will just rotate all of the weapons or whether there could be any other drops from the Lunar Badge or things like that, but yeah, at least we now know how that works, and it's pretty cool that you can farm loot every day. Also in the Sorrow's Harbour area though, there appears to be a bit of a callback to Randal the Vandal from D1. And so this is a nightmare boss. He'll randomly spawn in Sorrow's Harbour. I think it generally happens when you're actually on an Altars of Sorrow run. I don't believe it's guaranteed, I've only spotted him once. And when you take him down, you don't necessarily get any loot drops, you can get phantasmal fragments and things like that randomly. It also isn't a wandering nightmare, and so it appears to simply be some kind of Easter egg. Of course, Randal the Vandal in D1 was famous for being an incredibly tanky Vandal. This guy is certainly fairly tanky too, so keep your eyes out, Guardians, because you might just run into the nightmare of Randal the Vandal in Destiny 2. It's become apparent though that we still have a few things to learn about the dungeon inside of Shadowkeep. So firstly, there is the essence for premonition. If that's going to be a thing, presumably it will drop in the dungeon. However, that pulse rifle can drop from the Dreambane engram, as well as a random reward inside of the dungeon. So bear that in mind, and you can use the new dungeon consumable earned via Eris's weekly bounty to give yourself better chances at weapon drops. Pit of Heresy does have a Legend and Master difficulty that's now visible in the database, and a big question would be, what are the rewards going to be? Perhaps we'll see things like enhanced mods, more reliable weapon drops, maybe even curated roles on items from the Moon loot table. Of course, you can get Masterwork armor dropped when you clear the current dungeon, and so maybe other curated roles will become available as well. But the dungeon also has a few secrets. So Carpi shared a secret enemy called the Apocalyptic Blade. I haven't spotted him myself, but he spawns via a strange hive text at the top of one of the tallest towers in the first encounter. And of course, we see this hive text throughout the Xenophage quest. Yet this one, as well as a couple of others in the dungeon, aren't actually linked to the Xenophage quest directly, so very likely to be some other kind of secret, and they could also potentially be linked to things like the Xenophage Catalyst. We know that that's going to be a thing in the game, it's classified in the database, and if you look back to things like the Whisper of the Worm quest, it's possible that we could see something similar to that. But regardless, it appears that there are certainly more secrets to uncover in this new dungeon. There are also new lore collectibles inside of the dungeon, so if you want to finish up those Shadowkeep lore books, then I'll link videos from Spear Gaming and Ninja Pups down below that have all of those necrotic cipher locations. Now though, let's round up a few things from Bungie. So earlier on in the week, the option for players to purchase season ranks in the Seasons tab was unintentionally activated. At first there was a little bit of drama because some players noticed it, and Cosmo said that this going live was unintended, and they're still committed to the plan for purchasing season ranks later in the season that they communicated previously. So it's also a good heads up that season ranks will become purchasable later on in Season 8, and I believe Luke Smith said it would be kind of in the final couple of weeks as a catch-up mechanic. And obviously that means that players could actually gain access to items that we've otherwise grinded for with XP and things like that. And so I'm sure there will definitely be continued conversation, and let us know your thoughts about it below. On the subject of Telesto, which has been banned, DMG said that they're hoping to have some info on the weapon this week, so potentially we'll get a fix, and any Telesto fans out there can be reunited with one of their favourite exotics. Some players have asked questions about lore tabs on raid gear. They were supposed to be introduced in the update that we had earlier this week, and Cosmo confirmed that there is a bug that's stopping it from showing up in the game at the moment. So it has actually been added, but it's just a case that we can't view any of the raid lore on those pieces of gear. They're looking into fixing that shortly, as well as looking into some pretty severe bugs with the mysterious box quest for Izanagi's Burden. And of course, with a lot of players jumping back in for Shadowkeep, also newer players, and with Izanagi's Burden being a very powerful weapon for DPS in the game right now, it's certainly unfortunate. And so if you are working on the Izanagi's Burden quest, they do say that players are encouraged not to use their obsidian crystals or forge keys until the issue has been resolved, and it's the same for the rare Black Armory bounty. If you have any of those items, it's better to just stay where you are until Bungie get a proper fix for this done, otherwise you could lose progress or have to collect certain things again. Community managers have reminded players, once again, that you do have to get the title for Season of Undying before the season ends. And of course, part of ending this season will be the final assault. And a quick update, it's now visible in the database. We don't get too many details about it, other than that it's still listed at 750 power, so it doesn't look like it's going to have scaled across the span of the season. My big hope personally is that there's going to be a neat reward, as well as the story there. And on that subject, Akora has made a little bit more progress on the portal in the tower, and this week she did kind of say to us, be sure to enjoy the festival, have a little fun as she works on this portal, and soon we'll be ready to assault the Undying Mind, and as it says in the description for that mode, summon the Undying Mind from thousands of different timelines and destroy it to secure the Black Garden and contain the Vex incursion on the moon. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Now though, we're going to talk about some more content stuff this week. Before we talk about Festival of the Lost and Haunted Forest Branch 9, have you guys tried the new PvP mode out? Of course, Momentum Control arrived into the game, and pretty much all of the high-impact weapons will one-tap inside of this mode, so things like Scout Rifles, Jade Rabbit, Polaris Lance, and high-impact hand cannons, and a bunch of other abilities and things in general have had the lethality increased, so a lot of folks have been posting some rather crazy "we ran out of metal" clips and things like that. We're getting like 202 damage on Guardians with these weapons in the Crucible. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that, and of course if you haven't tried it out yet, you've now got a bit of an idea of what you might be in for if you decide to jump in. But for Festival of the Lost and some of the things we haven't rounded up, we've got a bit of a mystery to try and decipher right here. Of course there is a hidden triumph for Festival of the Lost, and via the database we can see that it is called Spider Vision. So it reads, see a spider in your sights, and we don't get any further information about how it's activated. And so I'm curious about this, could it be something that we need to do with a weapon for the event? Is it something that we need to find, or a hidden mechanic in the Haunted Forest? Definitely curious. The tower is packed with cobwebs and things like that. Obviously the more people that know about it, the more people can try and hunt it down, and we'll see if we figure it out soon, but JP Deathblade posted something pretty interesting, which could be useful if you plan on trying to pick up all of the items for Festival of the Lost when it comes to the cosmetic stuff in Eververse. So this is the current listing for all of the items and the rotation for Eververse during Festival of the Lost. This could change because it has been data mined. It's possible that Bungie can modify this on the fly. But of course on the top we've got the items available this week for Silver, as well as for Bright Dust. Then the middle set of items should be next week, followed by the bottom set of items the week after. And so according to this, once again it could change, but the Broom Sparrow should be available next week for Bright Dust, as well as the following week. And so yeah, I'm going to link Deathblade's Reddit post down below if you want to check that out. But one of the more challenging elements for Festival would be getting the Branch 9 completion for a Pinnacle drop, and faster candy if you want to pick up that Order Rifle. So it's totally worth trying to get this done if you have a coordinated team, and it's worth saying that it's definitely better with a coordinated team. And essentially in this year's Forest, we just have to score percentage by killing enemies. We are working against the clock though, and there is a little bit of RNG involved because of things like boss spawns. So me and some of my clanmates had a run where we got to wave 9, and it wasn't really the smoothest run, but a big part of that being successful was that versus other times that we ran it, we saw the Omnigul kind of wizard type boss 3 or 4 times in one run, and she is really easy to kill compared to most other bosses. So of course you could have a run where you kind of get the tankier bosses for an entire run, and that's going to make Branch 9 much more difficult. A really big shout, if you want to get Branch 9 completed, would definitely be the mods that you get on the masks, so be sure to check those out and equip them if you're running Haunted Forest. They do have a series of different benefits, but Higher Purpose will give you increased damage to all enemies. They all increase the drop chance of heavy ammo on a kill, so that's absolutely massive when you want to burn bosses and stuff like that. Energetic Assassin will give you significantly increased damage to terrors, and they're generally the enemies that are going to take you the longest to kill, so it's definitely worth paying attention to these, but also to the modifiers which change every single round. With the Artifact, if you have that for this season, definitely take advantage of new builds, and older builds, but you have things like the One Punch Wormgod build for the Titans, which I spoke about before. Also be sure to make use of Oppressive Darkness and some of the potent Void builds for Warlocks. And then things like Tether, Raiden Flux Arcstriders are really good as well. There are a bunch of different things you can really do with the setup, but be sure to farm supers effectively as a team, pick up each other's orbs, and, of course, the endgame DPS weapons and debuffs are really important for fast boss kills, so having someone with Divinity on the team is very advantageous. And then you've got weapons like Izanagi's Burden, or even shotgun 1-2 punch builds, which can be pretty nasty. A big tip for speed is to have one of your teammates kind of run ahead, so when one branch or segment of the forest has only a few minor enemies, it definitely isn't worth having the whole team kind of sit there and fight over those enemy kills. For us, I would consistently kind of open the next branch, you know, either as soon as it becomes available, or just to get it loaded up when we're close to clearing the branch before. Also pay attention to the yellow bars and terrors versus normal enemies, because of course, the more difficult enemies will give you more percentage towards clearing the branch. So you kind of need to pick your battles to optimize your time. And also, try to avoid burning all of your heavy ammo either on the tanky mobs or even bosses in the earlier rounds. And that's why for us, having some 1-2 punch shotgun builds was really useful, because we could use these primarily in the earlier rounds, and then heavy ammo when the modifiers get more difficult and the enemies get more tanky in the later rounds. Of course, bearing all of this in mind, and having a couple of runs to kind of warm up if you're struggling, is definitely going to be worth it, but 100% Bungie are focusing on coordinated teams in order to get the Pinnacle drops, right? So if you do play solo, unless you get lucky with matchmaking or something, then it will be fairly rough. But the event is running for a few weeks, so there will be a few opportunities to get this done. Cheese Forever did post that you can AFK farm the forges if you drop your light level to below 750, and this will drop chocolate strange coins. Specifically, you get 1 for every clear, so that's something you can do, although it isn't the most effective, especially if you're farming for candy anyway, because you're going to get a bunch of strange coins. I just think it's curious that Bungie put event currency into a mode like that, where people have consistently kind of AFK farmed, but yeah, just something curious to point out. For now though, guys, that's what I wanted to talk about in the video today, just a kind of second roundup, which I think now gets us through pretty much everything we need to worry about in this initial content drop this week. And so let us know how you're getting on in the game, whether you've been focusing on unlocking that festival stuff, doing the dungeon or the Altars of Sorrow, or maybe just generally smashing all of it like an absolute god. But if you've enjoyed the video, a rating is super appreciated, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to get subscribed so that I can keep you up to date with the world of Destiny 2. But for now, thank you for tuning in, guys, and whatever you get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.